The sun hung low over the horizon, painting the sky of New Terra in shades of orange and pink. The human colony sprawled across the grassy plains, a mix of sturdy homes and open fields where people worked and laughed alongside their unusual friends, wolves, tigers, and even the occasional bear, all tamed over generations. These weren't just pets, they were partners, their sharp eyes and strong bodies a reminder of Earth's wild past. Mia stood on a hill, her dark hair whipping in the breeze, watching a pack of wolves chase each other playfully. Beside her, a massive tiger named Cora lounged, her golden eyes half-closed but alert. Life here was simple, peaceful, and built on trust, a trust the galaxy was about to test. Far above, in the cold void of space, a fleet of sleek, silver ships broke through the clouds. The Vexery had arrived. Their ships gleamed like knives, cutting through the sky with purpose. To the Vexery, a species of tall, thin beings with skin like polished stone and minds sharper than steel, New Terra was just another prize. They'd conquered dozens of worlds, crushing anything that resisted their logic-driven rule. Their scanners had already picked up the colony's signals, humans, a soft species, living with dangerous beasts. To the Vexery, it made no sense. Predators were chaos, chaos was weakness. They saw an easy victory. Commander Valtor stood on the bridge of the lead ship, his six-fingered hands clasped behind his back. His voice, smooth and metallic, echoed through the chamber. Scans confirmed the presence of apex predators coexisting with the human population. They lacked the technology to control such creatures. This world will fall quickly. His officers nodded, their glowing eyes fixed on the screens showing wolves prowling near human homes. Valtor's plan was simple: demand the humans surrender their animals, then take the planet when they refused. Weak species always crumbled under pressure. Down below, the first sign of trouble came when a shadow fell over the fields. People looked up, shielding their eyes as the Vexery ships descended, hovering like storm clouds. A voice boomed from the largest ship, cold and commanding. "People of New Terra, this is Commander Valtor of the Vexery Dominion. Your coexistence with predatory species is illogical and dangerous. Surrender these creatures to us immediately, or we will remove them by force. You have 1 hour." The message cut off, leaving a stunned silence. Mia clenched her fists, her heart pounding. She glanced at Cora, who'd risen to her feet, ears twitching. Around her, the colony buzzed with activity, people gathering tools, calling their animals closer. A young man named Liam ran up, his gray wolf shadow trotting at his side. "They can't be serious," he said, breathless. "They think we'll just hand over our friends." Mia shook her head, her voice steady despite the fear in her gut. "They don't understand us, Liam. And they're about to learn why." The hour passed too fast. When no surrender came, the Vexery made their move. Small attack ships swooped down, firing pulses of blue energy that scorched the earth. People scattered, but they didn't run in panic. Mia shouted orders, and the colony sprang into action. Men and women grabbed makeshift weapons, metal pipes, hunting rifles, anything they had. The animals reacted too, instinctively forming ranks with their humans. Wolves snarled, tigers roared, and even the lumbering bears stood ready. The first Vexery soldiers landed, towering figures in shimmering armor, wielding energy staffs. They expected chaos, terrified humans fleeing from their own beasts. Instead, they met resistance. Mia charged forward with Cora at her side, the tiger leaping onto a soldier with a bone-shaking growl. Nearby, Liam and Shadow darted through the fray, the wolf's jaws snapping at Vexery legs while Liam swung a heavy wrench. The animals didn't just fight, they coordinated, moving with their humans like a single unit. A pack of wolves flanked a Vexery squad, driving them into a trap where colonists ambushed them with nets and spears. Valtor watched from his ship, his comm cracking as reports flooded in. "Impossible," he muttered. "The predators obey them without devices." How? His officers scrambled for answers, but the screens showed only chaos, human-animal teams pushing back his troops. One soldier's transmission cut off mid-sentence as a bear swatted him into the dirt. The Vexari weren't losing, not yet, but they weren't winning either. Valtor slammed a fist on the console. Withdraw. Regroup. We underestimated them. As the attack ships rose back into the sky, the colonists cheered, ragged but unbroken. Mia knelt beside Cora, running a hand through the tiger's fur. Good girl, she whispered. Liam joined her, Shadow panting happily at his feet. They'll be back, he said. Mia nodded, her eyes on the retreating ships. Let them come. We've got something they'll never understand. The colony had held, but the real fight was just beginning. Up above, Valtor stared at the planet below, his mind racing. These humans weren't weak. They were something else entirely, and he needed to know what. The night after the Vexari's first attack settled over New Terra like a heavy blanket. Fires still smoldered in the fields where energy blasts had struck, but the colony buzzed with life. People worked together, patching up homes and tending to scratches on their animal companions. Mia walked through the chaos, her boots crunching on charred grass. Cora padded beside her, the tiger's amber eyes gleaming in the dark. The air smelled of smoke and sweat, but there was something else too, determination. The Vexari had come expecting an easy win, and they'd left with their tails between their legs. Mia knew they'd be back, though, and this time they'd be smarter. Up in orbit, Commander Valtor paced the bridge of his flagship. His stone-like skin glinted under the ship's harsh lights, and his glowing eyes narrowed at the screens replaying the battle. Humans running with wolves, tigers leaping in sync with their shouts, it made no sense. There must be technology, he said, his voice sharp. Hidden devices, neural implants, something controlling those beasts. His second-in-command, a wiry Vexari named Torin, tilted his head. The scans showed nothing, sir. No signals, no machines. Just, them. Valtor's fingers tightened into fists. Then we've missed something. Send spies. Find their secret. By dawn, the Vexari had a plan. 3 of their stealthiest scouts slipped down to New Terra in a cloaked shuttle, landing silently in the dense forest bordering the colony. Their mission was simple: observe, infiltrate, and report. The scouts moved like shadows, their armor blending with the trees. They watched from a distance as humans went about their day, feeding wolves, brushing tigers, even laughing as bears rolled in the dirt. The Vexari couldn't grasp it. Where was the control? Where was the fear? Liam was in the forest that morning, gathering wood with Shadow at his side. The gray wolf's ears flicked, catching sounds no human could hear. Liam hummed a tune, his hands full of branches, when Shadow froze, a low growl rumbling in his throat. Liam dropped the wood, crouching low. What is it, boy? He whispered. Shadow's eyes locked on a patch of bushes, and Liam spotted it, a faint shimmer, like heat rising off pavement. He grinned. Gotcha. He didn't run or shout. Instead, he whistled softly, a signal Shadow knew well. The wolf bolted into the trees, circling wide. The Vexari scouts didn't see it coming. Shadow burst from the undergrowth, snarling and snapping at their heels. They swung their energy staffs, but the wolf was too fast, darting in and out. Liam followed, quieter now, slipping behind a tree. He'd spent years hunting with Shadow, learning how to move as one. Together, they herded the scouts toward a ravine where Mia had set up a trap earlier, a net of woven vines hidden under leaves. One scout stumbled in, then another, their shouts echoing as they tangled up. The third turned to flee, but Shadow leapt, pinning him down while Liam tied his arms with rope. Nice work, Liam said, scratching Shadow's ears. The wolf wagged his tail, panting happily. Mia arrived minutes later, Cora at her heels. She stared at the captured Vexari, their glowing eyes wide with shock. "Spies," she said. "They're trying to figure us out." Liam nodded, hauling one up. "They think we've got some trick up our sleeves." Mia smiled, kneeling beside Cora. "We do. It's called trust." She looked at the scouts. "Take them to the holding shed. Let's show them what they're up against." The humans didn't hurt the captives, they fed them, gave them water, and let them watch. Watch as wolves played with kids, as tigers lounged beside fire pits, as bears helped carry logs. The Vexeri sat in stunned silence, their logical minds spinning. Valtor wasn't pleased when the scouts didn't report back. "They've been compromised," he growled. "No more games. Prepare the second wave, full assault." This time, the Vexeri came with heavier ships, dropping bombs that shook the earth. The colony's edge erupted in flames, and people screamed as they ran for cover. Mia stood on a rooftop, shouting over the roar. "Get to the trenches. Move the animals underground." The colonists had dug shelters after the first attack, a network of tunnels where humans and beasts could hide. Wolves guided children, tigers carried supplies in their jaws, and bears dug deeper with their massive paws. It wasn't tech, it was teamwork. The Vexeri landed again, expecting to mop up survivors. Instead, they found the colony eerily quiet. Soldiers marched forward, staffs glowing, when the ground burst open. Mia led the charge, Cora roaring as she tackled a Vexeri captain. Liam and Shadow flanked another group, the wolf's teeth flashing in the firelight. The animals didn't just attack, they followed cues, retreating when Mia whistled, striking when Liam pointed. The humans fought with whatever they had, shovels, rocks, even burning sticks. One woman swung a frying pan, knocking a soldier flat while her bear swatted another into a wall. Valtor watched the chaos unfold, his screens flickering with static as his troops fell back. "They're using the terrain," Torin said, stunned. "The predators know it better than we do." Valtor's jaw tightened. "Their bond isn't tech. It's something else." He'd never seen anything like it, a species so in tune with its world that even its wildest creatures fought as allies. The Vexeri retreated again, their ships limping back to orbit. On the ground, Mia wiped sweat from her brow, leaning against Cora. "They're learning," she said. Liam nodded, Shadow nudging his hand. "But so are we." That night, the colony licked its wounds. A few homes were gone, and some animals limped from minor burns, but no one gave up. Around a fire, Mia spoke to the group. "The Vexeri think we're weak because we don't fight alone. They don't get it, our strength isn't in machines. It's in these bonds." She patted Cora, who purred like a giant house cat. Liam tossed Shadow a scrap of meat, grinning. "They'll keep coming, won't they?" Mia's eyes hardened. "Yes. And we'll keep showing them why they're wrong." Above, Valtor stared at the planet, his mind racing. The humans weren't just surviving, they were thriving, defying every rule he knew. "Prepare the full fleet," he ordered. "If they want a war, they'll get one." His voice was steady, but doubt crept in. What kind of species turned predators into family? And how could he beat them? The answers eluded him, but he'd find out soon enough. New Terra wasn't just a prize anymore, it was a mystery, and the Vexeri weren't ready for what came next. The sky above New Terra glowed red as the Vexeri fleet descended in full force. This wasn't a skirmish anymore, it was war. Massive ships loomed like mountains, blotting out the stars, their engines humming with menace. On the ground, the colony braced itself. Smoke still rose from the last attack, but the humans didn't falter. Mia stood at the edge of the settlement, Cora growling softly beside her. The tiger's fur bristled, sensing the storm coming. "This is it," Mia said, her voice firm. "They're throwing everything at us." Around her, People tightened their grips on makeshift weapons, while wolves, tigers, and bears shifted restlessly, ready to fight. In orbit, Commander Valtor surveyed the battlefield through his ship's screens. His glowing eyes gleamed with cold determination. "They've resisted too long," he said to Torin, his second-in-command. "Their tricks won't save them now. Bombard the colony, flatten it." Torin hesitated, his stone-like fingers hovering over the controls. "Sir, they're companions. They adapt too fast." Valtor's glare silenced him. "Then we'll crush them before they can." The order went out, and the ships unleashed a barrage of energy bombs, lighting up the night with explosions. The ground shook as blasts tore through New Terra. Homes crumbled, trees splintered, and dust choked the air. People dove into the trenches, pulling their animals with them. Mia shielded a young girl as dirt rained down, while Cora roared at the sky. Liam crouched nearby, shadow pressed against his side, the wolf's ears flat but his eyes sharp. "We can't stay here," Liam shouted over the noise. Mia nodded, her mind racing. "We need to hit back, hard." She rallied the survivors, her voice cutting through the chaos. "They think they've won. Let's prove them wrong." The humans didn't just hide, they fought. Using the tunnels, they spread out, splitting into small groups. Mia had spent nights planning with the colony, turning their home into a weapon. They'd rigged traps, pits lined with spikes, ropes to trip Vexery soldiers, even barrels of oil ready to burn. The animals played their part too. Wolves darted through the shadows, leading enemies into ambushes. Tigers leapt from hiding spots, claws flashing. Bears smashed through Vexery lines, scattering their neat formations. It was messy, wild, and nothing the Vexery understood. Valtor's troops landed in waves, expecting to march over ruins. Instead, they stumbled into chaos. A squad of soldiers triggered a trap, falling into a pit where wolves waited, snarling. Another group chased a bear, only to be doused in oil and set ablaze by a colonist's torch. Mia led from the front, Cora ripping through armor like paper. "Keep moving," she yelled. "Don't let them regroup." The Vexery fought with precision, but the humans fought with heart, and their animals matched every step. Up above, Valtor's comm cracked. "Why aren't they breaking?" he demanded, watching his screens flicker with static. Torin pointed at a feed showing Liam and Shadow. The young man had climbed a shattered wall, tossing rocks to distract soldiers while Shadow circled behind, tripping them with quick bites. "It's not just the humans," Torin said. "The predators, they think together." Valtor slammed a fist on the console. "Then we target the beasts. Cut the humans off from their strength." The Vexery shifted tactics, aiming their weapons at the animals. A tiger fell with a yelp, and a bear roared as energy blasts grazed its side. Mia's heart sank, but she didn't stop. "Protect them," she shouted, dragging the injured tiger to safety. Liam saw the change too. "They're scared of our friends," he said, a spark lighting his eyes. "Let's use that." He grabbed Shadow and ran toward the forest, an idea forming. The wolf trusted him completely, following without hesitation. Liam's plan was risky. He'd noticed a Vexery supply ship landing near the trees, unloading crates of weapons and fuel. If they could hit that, it'd cripple the attack. He whispered to Shadow, "Find me a path, boy." The wolf sniffed the air, then bolted, weaving through bushes. Liam followed, dodging patrols until they reached the ship. Vexery guards stood watch, but Shadow was faster. He lunged, distracting them while Liam crept to the crates. With a flint from his pocket, he sparked a flame and tossed it onto a fuel container. "Run," he yelled, and he and Shadow sprinted as the ship erupted in a fireball, lighting up the night. The explosion rocked the battlefield. Vexery troops faltered, their supply line gone. Mia seized the moment, leading a charge from the trenches. "Now," she roared, Cora leaping beside her. The humans and animals surged forward, a wave of fury and hope. The Vexery lines broke, soldiers retreating to their ships. Valtor stared at the screens, his voice low. They're unpredictable, chaotic. Torin nodded. That's their power, sir. We can't match it. Valtor's hands clenched. Pull back. We need a new plan. As the Vexery ships rose, the colony cheered, ragged and bruised but alive. Mia knelt beside Cora, checking the tiger's scratches. You're tougher than they are, she murmured. Liam limped over, Shadow wagging his tail despite a singed paw. We hit them where it hurt, he said, grinning. Mia smiled, but her eyes stayed sharp. They'll come again. We need to be ready. Around them, the colonists rebuilt, tending to their wounded, human and animal alike. They'd lost friends, homes, but not their spirit. That night, Liam sat by a fire, Shadow curled at his feet. He replayed the mission in his mind, the moment he'd trusted Shadow to lead him true. It wasn't tech or weapons that won, it was something deeper. Mia joined him, Cora settling nearby. They don't get it, she said. They think chaos is weakness. But it's our strength. Liam nodded, tossing a stick into the flames. Shadow knew what to do before I did. They're not just with us, they're part of us. Above, Valtor brooded in his command chair. The humans had turned the tide, not with machines but with something he couldn't calculate. They fight like animals, he muttered. Torin glanced at him. Maybe that's why they win. Valtor didn't answer, but doubt gnawed at him. New Terra wasn't falling, it was rising, and he had to rethink everything. The war wasn't over, but the Vexery's confidence was shaken. Down below, Mia looked at the stars, her hand on Cora's head. Let them try again, she whispered. We'll show them what we're made of. The dawn broke over New Terra, casting a golden glow on a colony scarred but standing. Smoke curled from ruined homes, and the air carried the faint growl of wounded animals being tended by their humans. Mia walked through the wreckage, Cora limping slightly at her side. The tiger's strength hadn't wavered, even after the last battle. Around them, people hammered boards, hauled debris, and shared quiet words of hope. Liam knelt nearby, bandaging Shadow's paw while the wolf licked his hand. The Vexery had hit hard, but the humans hadn't broken. Now, the sky was quiet, too quiet. Mia knew it wasn't over. In orbit, Commander Valtor stood motionless on his flagship's bridge, staring at the planet below. His fleet was battered, his troops shaken. The humans and their wild allies had defied every tactic he'd thrown at them. Torin approached, his voice cautious. Sir, the Council demands results. They say we should withdraw. Valtor's eyes flared. Withdraw? After this? He turned to the screens, replaying footage of wolves outsmarting soldiers, tigers tearing through armor, humans fighting with nothing but scraps and grit. No, he said. But we'll change the game. The Vexery didn't attack that day. Instead, a single shuttle descended, unarmed, broadcasting a message. Valtor's voice crackled through the colony's makeshift radios. People of New Terra, this is your final chance. I offer a truce. Meet me at your northern fields in 1 hour, or we erase your world. The transmission cut off, leaving a hush. Mia tightened her grip on a spear, glancing at Cora. A truce? Liam said, standing with Shadow. After all that? Mia's jaw set. It's a trick, or a chance. Either way, we face it together. An hour later, Mia led a small group to the northern fields, Liam, Shadow, Cora, and a few others with their bears and wolves. The shuttle waited, its ramp lowering to reveal Valtor, tall and imposing, flanked by guards. His stone-like face showed no emotion, but his eyes flicked to Cora, then Shadow. You fought well, he said, his voice smooth. Better than I expected. I want to understand why. Mia stepped forward, Cora growling low. You attacked us. Why should we trust you now? Valtor tilted his head. Because I could destroy you. But I'd rather learn. The standoff stretched tense and silent. Liam shifted, Shadow's ears twitching. He's curious, Liam whispered. Mia nodded, seeing it too. Valtor wasn't just a conqueror anymore. He was puzzled. All right, she said. We'll talk. But our friends stay with us. Valtor agreed, and the group sat across a crude table made of salvaged wood. The Vexery guards eyed the animals warily, but the humans sat easy, stroking fur and scratching ears. Mia spoke first. You think we control them? You're wrong. We trust them. That's our strength. Valtor leaned forward. Trust? With creatures that could kill you? Liam grinned, tossing Shadow a stick the wolf caught midair. They could. But they don't. We've got each other's backs. Valtor's guards muttered, but he silenced them. Show me, he said. Mia whistled, and Cora leapt onto a rock, scanning the field like a sentinel. Shadow darted to Liam's side, ready for a command. A bear lumbered over, nuzzling a woman who laughed. Valtor watched, his logic crumbling. This defies reason. The meeting stretched into hours. Mia explained how humans and animals had grown together, centuries of partnership, not dominance. Liam told stories of Shadow saving him from storms, of Cora warning the colony of danger. Valtor listened, his glowing eyes narrowing. You don't rule them, he said slowly. You coexist. Mia nodded. And we're stronger for it. You could be too. The idea hung there, bold and wild. Valtor didn't respond, but something shifted in his stare. That night, the Vexery didn't attack. Instead, a few of Valtor's crew slipped away, landing secretly near the colony. They were young, curious, drawn by what they'd seen. One approached Liam, hesitant. Can I meet your wolf? Liam grinned, calling Shadow over. The Vexery reached out, trembling, as Shadow sniffed his hand. He's soft, the alien said, amazed. Word spread, and more defectors came, drawn to a bond they'd never known. The colony welcomed them, sharing food and stories by firelight. Valtor saw the desertions from his ship, his fists clenching. They're abandoning us, Torin said. Valtor's voice was low. They're choosing something I don't understand. He looked at New Terra, its lights flickering defiantly. Enough, he said. We leave. Torin blinked. Sir. Valtor turned away. They've won, not with weapons, but with this alliance. Let them keep it. The fleet powered up, and one by one, the ships vanished into the stars. On the ground, Mia watched them go, Cora's head resting on her lap. Think they'll be back? Liam asked, Shadow sprawled beside him. Mia smiled. Maybe. But next time, they'll know what they're facing. The colony rebuilt stronger, new homes, better defenses, and tighter bonds. The defectors stayed, learning to live with wolves and tigers, their cold logic warming to something human. One even adopted a bear cub, naming it after a lost friend. Weeks later, a trader ship arrived, its crew buzzing with tales of New Terra's stand. They say you scared off the Vexery with wild beasts, the captain exclaimed. Mia laughed, scratching Cora's ears. Not scared, just showed them something better. The story spread across the galaxy, a spark of curiosity igniting in distant worlds. Humans weren't just survivors, they were creators, weaving life with Earth's wildest hearts. As the sun set, Liam sat with Shadow, watching kids play with wolf pups. Think we'll ever stop surprising them? He asked. Mia joined him, Cora settling nearby. Hope not, she said. That's what makes us us. The colony thrived, a beacon of resilience and wonder. Humans and their allies had faced the void and won, not by force, but by being unbreakable together. The galaxy would never forget.